All right, so let's start working on step 2 of building out this food application for Dojo. All right, so I did notice I made one little mistake on here. So I've got edit purchase. Should be edit delete purchase. So in my app here, let me change this to delete. All right, and in my test, I need to update this too, so it'll show up to delete. Okay, so now I need to have some logic here before I add the forms to do the editing and to even do the add. Here, I need to build some kind of a store in order for application state to persist, right? So let's get started with that here. The first thing we're going to do is because you want the widgets to interact with the state, you're going to create a middleware for this. Now, I just create like a middleware folder because you never know when you're going to add more middleware of your own to do some cool stuff. I'll call it store TS. So you want to bring in it's got a long name. A very great store middleware from Dojo framework for middleware. Store? Yeah, that's it. I know, trying to remember. So I need to import my state from here from my data. All right, so let's get the state. And remember, the state is the application level state, right? There's the food item, which is the individual items, but there's an application level state that I want the store to be concerned with. So then at this point, I'm going to export default, create middleware store, and this is so I can type everything. All right, so now this is going to get used in my widgets. It's going to go ahead and let me, because I passed the state, this means that my state or my store is now typed to my application state. So I get my IntelliSense and all this other validation and correction that TypeScript can give me, which is really nice. I don't have to worry about writing tests and stuff to make sure that stuff's going to work. It's just going to work. So when you're working with state in Dojo, there's a couple ways you can do it. There's resource templates, which work on widgets. So if I want to make widgets reusable that can read data from specific data sources, just kind of place them around wherever I want them. There's that, and then there's application level state. Oh, I'm sorry. There's also widget level state, which is something like the iCache middleware, where you can get and set different properties that are local to the widget. But in this case, I want some application level state to manage this because the list is going to have the application state. The buttons, when I edit, I'm editing an item from the application state. I'm deleting an item from and so forth. You get the idea, right? Adding, editing, deleting, updating things directly from the application level state and not particularly widget level state. So that's kind of what we want to concern ourselves with. So in that case, you're going to be using processes. Is that right? Processes. Okay, so I'm going to have a food items process, capitalize that, process TS. Now I don't know if there's a Dojo snippet for this. Is there? Oh yeah, look at that. There is. Oh, look at that. Oh, import? No. Okay, that's cool, but it didn't really. I need to import some stuff first. I was hoping it's going to do all the importing. Maybe there is one. This might not be the best time for me to no, not the best time for me to start trying to learn the snippet stuff, right? So let's do the import, and we're going to be importing from Dojo framework stores process. And again, I'm doing it this one way, but there are a couple other ways. I can have a store provider, which is fine. That work too. But this is kind of how I just do it, right? I have a create process method and a create command factory method. complaining from? I didn't do from. Wait, tell me that. Okay. Now it's just all unused stuff. So the process creates kind of the public API that you're going to expose for this kind of these public kind of methods that can get used and passed around. The commands are where the bulk of the work happens, right? You kind of you don't really expose the commands, but the processes are going to consume these commands to do all these different cool things, right? So I want some. Okay. So we're going to be working with our state and the food item interface. So this is going to come from data. Okay, so we need the state and we need the food item because we're going to type passing different types of data around in here. Now, in order, there's a couple of ways you can do this. If you're working with only evergreen browsers, you can modify state in place. And if you're working with anything IE11 or below, you should be using these methods I'm going to show you here. I still use them because I don't know why I still use them. You know, we'll take a look at some things. We'll play with the modifying state in place too. But these are state operations. These are methods you can use to update state in place. So you can have the add, right? Well, we'll start with the add. You're basically going to add something to something. Right? I want some default state, so I'm going to add food items, an empty array to the food items, right? So now I'm going to do create my command factory. It's kind of what it's called. So const command factory. That's okay. All right. So that's how. Okay. This is what I was looking for. I want these import commands in here. Okay. I found them. Okay. So there's my command factory and using my state. So now what I'm going to do is okay, so these are my commands. I want something that's going to fetch food items. So in my initialized state, I'm going to call it fetch food items command is going to be equal to the command factory. And I make these async. And I don't think they have to be async, but I've noticed that they don't always work if they're not. I don't understand why that is. I should really ask. It's probably just the way I'm doing things. But I've found that if they're async, I don't run into issues. If they're not, then my widgets don't re-render with the updated state properties. That's probably why, because they don't re-render correctly, right? So, okay. Because re-render is kind of an async thing. Make them async. That's all I'm saying. Listen to me. So I'm going to return this operation to add to the state on the path of food items. So see how that happens there? So I'm adding an empty array. So, okay, so let's do this, and then we'll test out something in a second here. So now I want to create a process that's going to consume my fetch food items command. So this is where I do an export const fetch food items. It's going to be equal to create process. So like I had my command factory. I have a create process. You can give these processes a name. You should to kind of identify them. And the second argument is an array of the commands, because you can run multiple commands in parallel if you needed to. And there are use cases for it. Maybe you need to update 2 different data sources at the same time, kind of a thing. But I'm just going to do this the once. So, okay, so we're going to fetch resources. I'm not using food item yet, so I'm going to get rid of that. Or TypeScript is going to complain about it. Okay. All right. All right, so now what I want to do is use this in my store. So not in the store, in my widget. So now I'm going to bring my store. So import store from, oops. Okay. Middleware store. Now I'm going to pass the store to the create for my widget factory here. All right. So now, this is how you use middleware in your Dojo widgets, right? Using the create method. That's going to create the VDOM stuff for you here. And then it's going to get passed in here in the middleware. And I had made this bigger so that it's easier for people to see. It makes it difficult for me to work in. Okay, so there's store. Now what I want to do is in my list, and I'm surprised it actually built because it's not doing it. Let's do the no, I'm fetching, right? So no, I want to do this in the app. I did this in the wrong one. We're gonna use it here anyway, but we'll use it in a second. I want to go to the app. So where am I? Lost. Okay. Let's go to app. Let's import store. You see, I'm adding. That's where I'm creating the food items. I don't want that. I want my real food item. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to add it alongside my theme middleware that I'm using, which you didn't even notice. I'm using my theme middleware here. Talk about themes another time, I think. Pull out store here. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're actually get rid of this. We're going to say that, okay, so we need to get some stuff off of the store. So the store comes with these methods that you can use to get the properties, right? So it comes with get and it comes with path. Now I'm going to say that food items is going to be equal to get on the path for food items. So this is how you do it. So it's basically going to look at the store. Path is going to find that property, and then get is going to pull the value from the store of that property. So let's get my food items here. Pass it here. That should be my empty array, and this should now be error. See, so food item is declared but never used. So let me comment this out. I won't even here, but there we go. So okay, cannot read property length of undefined. Why not? Let's see. Oh, jeez. Okay, so that's why, because I haven't initialized it. It's just undefined, empty, right? So if not food items, what I want to do, we're going to pull in along with the store from my processes. All right, so I'm going to pull in the fetch food items. And then here I'm just say store executor, so it's in a method's going to execute a process, and I'm going to call it with an empty object because it's expecting an argument, a payload to get passed. That's what I'm going to do. Not read property length of the font. I think we're going to do so that doesn't error out. It's going to pass. It'll go through the first time and then it'll do the fetch food items, and then it'll be the next render. It'll actually be an empty array at that point. So I need to have a empty array here, or really what I should be doing, not there. This should be happening here. All right, bam, there we go. That should be doing it right here. Not have it worried about over here. And that's just saying because the first time it renders in the app, there is no food item, so it's undefined. So that's why I got that can't read length of undefined error there. But the next time it re-renders, this will have executed, fetched the default set of items, and I'm good to go. So this is what I was talking about. If we look at the stores guide here, and we look at in here somewhere, so state. So in my create command, state is one of the properties I get, right? So if we come over here, wasn't this one, in the process, and we did not use these commands here, I'm just going to concern myself. I just return state. I know it's somewhere here. There we go. States. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about here. So you can update it in place without using those operations at all. So instead of doing that, maybe I do this. I say state, and here I'm going to say state dot food items, not field it, yeah, is equal to that. And that should still work. All right. And we're good to go. So I can test that here. If I remove that, I should get the error the first time around, but it's still going to render with, no, there was nothing in there. All right. So, or else this would just be an error page on here. So, okay. So again, you could do that. And this might be simpler for some people. It's really a preference. Myself, I do kind of like doing this here. And there's various reasons I like it. One of them, which we'll see later on in these videos, is where I can make sure the item getting added to the list is always added to the end of the list, right? Which you could do that with the state method too. But I do like this. But again, if you one thing to keep in mind, if you do it with the state method, or instead of pulling the path out and modifying state in place here, that will not work in IE 11. I think I mentioned that before. But it's just something to be aware of, right? And that's probably a little bit more intuitive doing it this way. State, and then just modify in place. Boom. Like that. And then don't even worry about the operations. Right, I'm just saying, if it's something you're inclined to, and we can make sure this actually works, so let's go to one of our tests here. And let's take this here, come to my process here. All right, and there it is. All right, because I modified the state in place. So yeah, we can stick with that. I don't mind. I think this might be easier for people to grasp on, but I do think it's worth knowing the operations. And if you're interested in seeing those, I could write the app in that way too. I'll have 2 versions out there, 2 different ways to do it. All right, cool. So we've got that in place now. All right, that is it for this one. And in part 3, we're going to start hooking up. We'll create some commands and processes for doing the edits and deletes and the update. Well, not edit. We'll do the delete and the update in place to change the status from false to true. All right. See you next one. Thanks.